Well, the Case-Shiller report shows that home prices dropping again last month. This is for the 8th month in a row. Well, eventually we're going to hit the bottom. So on my radio show, I asked the audience the proverbial question, is now the time to buy? Well, most callers to the program said no, not yet, with one exception. Terry said, absolutely, now is the time to buy, and Terry is our caller of the week.
Now is absolutely the best time to buy a house for numerous reasons. We're not going to have the Wall Street crash anymore that's going to drive prices down that far. It doesn't matter which side of the aisle you sit on. There are protections in place, but that's only part of the point. Whether you're at or near the bottom of the market, but mortgage programs and mortgage rates are at their best right now because there are so many no money down programs.
Well, joining us now to debate this question, to continue to ask the question about buy now or not yet, is Terry Green from Allied Home Mortgage in Washington, and Smart Money editor Jack Howe. And Terry, first of all, thanks for joining us. But I mean, you started talking about these low down money programs, and I took you to task because I went, what are you talking about? This is what got us into the problem in the first place. No skin in the game. So you say that that's a good thing.
Yes, thank you, Tom. That is not what got us into the problem. It contributed to the problem, but the government intervention also is what helped get us into this problem. Low rates helped cause a lot of people to start buying houses several years ago, and prices started going up with the activity. And then the government intervention causing the CRA programs where banks were forced to loan money to people who were not truly qualified to buy. So there's people who aren't qualified to buy houses who are buying houses. And then the market starts to go down the other direction, and these are the first people that let go of their mortgages and their houses, and that's what caused the big crash, and then prices dropped a lot.
All right. Jack Howe, prices are down, continuing to go down. I give you credit because it was 2.5 years ago you came on and said housing is going to take a big tumble. You were the first guy I know of who called it exactly right. So have we hit the bottom yet?
Well, I don't think so, but the message has changed. You know, the first I wrote about this was in April 2007, and the message then was look out below. House prices would have to fall by half nationwide to restore the historic ratio of purchase prices to rents or purchase prices to incomes. You know, these numbers have to be anchored in something, and they're anchored in either the alternatives of where we can live or how much we can pay. Now,
what is that ratio? What is the ratio that you follow?
The ratio of purchase prices to rents. You know, so you can calculate that in a number of ways, but somehow purchase prices have to stick with rents. If they get very separated in the short term, you know they're going to revert back to their historic average. So I thought house prices would have to fall by half. They're down about 30% nationwide. You can take off another maybe 6 or 8 percentage points for inflation. We're getting close to the bottom, and in some regional areas, prices are depressed enough where they're a good deal. Nationwide, though, houses are no bargain right now.
Yeah, and Terry, you happen to be in the one city that the Case-Shiller report at least says is the one city that is seeing a minor growth, but at least it has a plus sign in front of it. So do you think prices nationwide have hit bottom?
I think that depending on the market, you've either hit the bottom, so you're either at or near the bottom. And while I understand Jack's point, the housing opportunity right now is big because prices are, if they're not at the bottom in your market, they're very close to it. So if you look 5 years ahead from now, prices are going to be higher than they are right now. Interest rates are still at or near historic lows, and they will be probably through third quarter of next year. So you can buy a house at a good deal now still, and you can get a very, very good interest rate. And then 5 years from now, you'll still be at the low rate, and the values will start ticking up and trickling up. And it's definitely a great opportunity now.
We need to be careful about one thing, though. This country has gone way too far in making the investment case for single-family houses. If the three of us were going to go in on a real estate investment together, and I said, fellas, let's build a 3,000 square foot box and we'll put just one middle-income family in there and draw one rent from our box, you'd say, Jack, that's a terrible idea. Let's build a multi-family big building where we can pull many rents through and maximize the efficiency of the space. Single-family housing was never designed to be a good investment, and somehow we've sold it that way. Here's how you know you're ready to buy a house. you have a lot of money and you want something nice. Don't buy it because you think it's going to make you rich. It will not make you rich. If anything, it will make you poorer. Buy it because you want something nice and you can afford it.
And Terry, that goes back to the history. The problem that a lot of us have is that we look at the last 25, 30 years and we see all these periods of where we get this explosive growth in the price of homes. But if you go back prior to World War II, isn't it more like what Jack was talking about, where people used it as a place to hang their hat for maybe 5 years minimum, and then they would break even at very best?
Yeah, but Tom, that was then. This is now. Although I understand Jack's point, he's really missing the big point. Most people don't buy a home for the investment. They buy it for the intrinsic value. Home ownership is still the American dream. And while people like Jack are smart enough to invest in multiple different ways and make money, and he's very fortunate and very blessed in his intelligence in that area, most people don't buy a home as the investment. They buy it as a place to live.
Let's not overstate
They buy it
the
because
case.
that's a place to raise a family. If you're going to rent, like Jack probably does, and put your money in the stock market, that's good for him. But if you're married and you're trying to raise kids and you want nice schools, you want to go ahead and buy a home so that you don't have to deal with a landlord. You can change out the air conditioner you want. You don't have to ask permission to drive a nail in the wall and hang a picture. You can put a room addition up. You can modify the home to suit your own family's needs.
Last word, Jack.
The one thing I worry about is that we've hung so much on this as a nation. All of our affordability programs, all of the subsidies, all we've really accomplished is we've pushed the price of housing too high in America. We've made it less affordable. We've made houses too big. And we're cramming our middle class into boxes they can't afford. So I want people to be very careful about the financial case for home ownership. If you can afford it and the numbers are right, God bless you.
Terry Green from Washington Allied Mortgage, thank you. Jack Howe from Smart Money, thank you both, gentlemen, very, very much.
Thank you, Tom.
You bet. My take on it is simply this. Buying a home, we are closer to the bottom but than in many communities, but at the same time, I don't think we're going to see any appreciation for 4, 5, 6 years to come. So if you want to buy in here, don't expect appreciation, but also don't expect a lot of loss. In other words, it's going to scrape along at these low prices for a long, long time. And the main reason why is because there are still millions of homes that are owned by the banks or in the process of going through foreclosure that still have to come into the market, and they're going to keep prices depressed for at least a few years to come. That's my take on it. This